Also new tonight, Trump squanders $15 million. This is money loaned to him from his dad, who bailed him out. Two Pulitzer Prize-winning reporters from the New York Times uncovering a trove of secret business records and tax returns, which show never-before-known reasons why Trump is so sensitive to questions about his wealth.
I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times.
I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that.
Russ Putner and Suzanne Craig are now out front. They are the authors of Lucky Loser: How Donald Trump Squandered His Father's Fortune and Created the Illusion of Success, which is out today. And I'm excited to have a copy of it right now. So, all right, I've spoken to each of you over the years. This is an incredible reported piece of work that you are now releasing for everyone to see. So you revealed Trump's father, Fred, repeatedly bankrolled his son. And we know, he had been given money, but you guys document all the different ways it happened, including a $15 million loan, Ross, that you revealed Donald Trump never paid back. $15 million. Tell me more.
So that was to help him with the construction of Trump Tower. Every week, as he built up construction costs, he was having problems paying his bills. And so his father was loaning him money over that period of time. And then that just stayed. He was supposed to pay interest back on that. He never did that. But then years later, when Donald Trump started another building called Trump Plaza, they rolled that money into an investment into Trump Plaza. Well, Trump Plaza was really ill-advised. It was built right as the real estate market was collapsing. Everyone around him thought, this is not a good idea. You're not going to make your money back. He went forth. Guess what? He didn't make his money back. And his father declared on his tax returns a $15 million loss to write off other income that his father made. His father made a lot of money. So that was actually an illegal tax return. They somehow converted that $15 million worth of loan to Trump Tower into a tax loss that reduced his income on another building.
All right, so that's fraud on one level. On another very basic level, that's Trump taking $15 million and turning it into zero, which is another thing that goes totally against the entire ethos and brand that he's put out there, Suzanne. You know what I found fascinating about this as well, though, is, you lay all this out, but you also talk about how, he talks about he's this real estate mogul. Right. And that's actually how, he gets The Apprentice. And yet it turns out from your reporting, The Apprentice, that you got tax returns, you got confidential business documents that no one's ever seen before that reveal he got, $400 million from The Apprentice. That could be his biggest success.
It's incredible. When we look at, the title is Lucky Loser, because he lived a life, he was born lucky. He was born into a wealthy family, and he also had a father with connections in the real estate industry. He went into it, and he inherited hundreds of millions of dollars from his father. So that's just luck right there. But the second piece of luck that we write a lot about in the book is The Apprentice. It's a meeting of Mark Burnett. And at the time that he met Mark Burnett was looking to do another reality TV show. He'd just come off Survivor. It was red hot. And he was looking to do sort of the Survivor in the city, and he wanted to do The Apprentice. And Donald Trump was having a lot of things going wrong financially. The casinos is one of them. He was not doing well. And Mark Burnett actually looked at some moguls that were quite wealthy, including people like Jack Welch. They didn't want to do it. And the people that he looked at either didn't want to do it because they didn't have time, or they were, not photogenic, telegenic. But there was Donald Trump. So he was sort of not doing well, and Mark Burnett tapped him for the show. And that show, you think you're a host of a reality TV show, how could you make so much money? But the genius of it was Mark Burnett had negotiated with NBC that NBC could keep all the money from the commercials, but that Mark Burnett would get the product placements money. So there's a Coke can on the table. If Coca-Cola has paid for that, Mark Burnett gets the money. And The Apprentice was this runaway hit with Madison Avenue, and all these corporations were paying huge monies. And we got the huge money. We got the financials, not just of Donald Trump's tax returns, but of the show. They were paying $2, $3, $4 million an episode to be on that show, and Donald Trump got half of all of that. So he got that rush, and then he got all these licensing deals after it. It was incredible how much money he
And
made
it's incredible.
from
So at
it.
a moment of failure when things are going to go down, and then all of a sudden this happens, and it becomes, I mean, more than $400 million. I mean, it's impossible to truly kind of comprehend that, what that happened. You know, Russ, and yet as part of this, the big event, right, on The Apprentice was who's going to get fired, right? So people tune in to see who's going to get fired each week. It was moments like this.
David, on the complete opposite side, I don't see that you stepped up at all.
David, I'm going to ask you to take the down elevator. You're fired.
Jason, this is a tough one. You're fired.
Heidi, you're fired. In this case, Omarosa has to go. You're fired.
So, Russ, you learned that Trump was so unpredictable with who he was going to fire, and that it was not based on sort of how they performed. They were tasks. I remember judging some of these tasks. You know, it was supposed to be who did the worst on the tasks, but that he sometimes would be so bad about his choice about who he fired that they'd have to go back and edit it to make that person look bad.
That's exactly right. The first face you showed there was David Gould, who had an MBA. He was a medical doctor, I think, as well. A really amazing guy who a lot of the producers thought was going to win that whole series. That season, he would just run the whole gauntlet. But Trump fired him on like the very first episode. And people in the control room, the producers were like, oh my God, what do we do with this now? But they had this other moment, because it was entertainment, not reality, that, oh my gosh, this is really great, because this is so unpredictable. So that quality that was really bad for him in business was solid gold on this show. And then they would just re-edit everything to make the David Goulds look.
Back to the title, Lucky Loser. All right, Suzanne, Trump would call reporters. This is something I've been just fascinated by over the years, this kind of alter ego bizarre thing, when he would pretend to be a guy named John Barron.
Right.
And he would do it when he was talking about affairs or about, you know, how rich he was, because he wanted people to think he was richer than he was and get put on the Forbes list and all of these things. He pretended to be this guy, John Barron. Here's one conversation that was recorded.
Okay, what's your first name, by the way? John Barron. Most of the assets have been consolidated to Mr. Trump, you know, because you have down Fred Trump. And I'd like to talk to you off the record if I can, just to make your thing easier. I think you can really use Donald Trump now, and you can just consolidate. I think last year somebody showed me the article, and I think you had 200 and 200. And really, it's been pretty well consolidated now for the most part.
I mean, he didn't even try to use a voice changer, which a 6-year-old would try to do. It's
He
very
even
clearly
named his
Donald
son
Trump.
Barron. So
I mean,
I don't even go there.
Oh
but,
my gosh.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. But you discovered a long and bizarre history to John Barron. And by the way, the Barron Trump may be part of it too. But the history is something else.
Well, we've always sort of wondered why John Barron, and we found out in the book that when Donald Trump was young and he just had first started working with Fred, we went back to old newspapers and we found the name John Barron, where there was classified ads where he would be selling things, and it went back to the exchange number for the Trump house. So it was Donald, he was using it as a pseudonym either because they wanted to hire a maintenance worker, and in one sad case, we actually found an ad for his brother who died when he was 42, Fred Trump, his boat that the family they were selling, and it was John Barron was selling it. So it was just this crazy origin story of John Barron that we've always wondered where it came from, and we found it in the classified ads of newspapers, old newspapers in New York.
I mean, it is really incredible. And that history. And as you point out, that his son happens to also have that name. All right. Well, thanks so much. As I said, it's always such a pleasure to talk to both of you with your incredible reporting and this book, Lucky Loser, out today by Russ and Suzanne.